Okay, let's talk about one of the most common and, let's be honest, one of the most confusing words you will ever see on an assignment sheet: review.
You know that feeling, right? Your professor hands you the prompt, and that one little word is just sitting there in the instructions. It sounds so simple, but what does it actually want you to do? Are you supposed to just, talk about it, give your opinion? It can feel super vague. So, here is the number one trap that almost everybody falls into. You see review, and your brain immediately thinks summary. You think your job is just to report back on what you've read. But that's not it. Not at all. A review is actually a deep, critical evaluation. It's all about analysis, not just description. So let's break down what a review is truly asking you to do. We're going to go to a much, much deeper level than a simple summary. Okay, here's the official definition. And the keywords you really need to latch onto are critically examine and evaluate. That is your mission. Your job isn't just to say what the information is, but to judge its strengths, its weaknesses, and its place in the bigger picture. I absolutely love this analogy. Think about it. A reporter tells you the facts, right? The who, what, where, when. But a detective goes way further. A detective is looking for clues, connecting the dots, questioning the evidence, and building a case. And that is the mindset you need for a review. You are investigating the topic, not just reporting on it. All right, so you're ready to be a detective, but what are the actual steps you need to take? Let's get into the toolkit that breaks this whole process down into manageable actions. The whole process is basically a structured investigation. Yeah, you start with a summary, that's the foundation, but then you compare different sources, you evaluate their quality, and then you synthesize them into a new, coherent argument. And of course, you have to back everything up with evidence and then draw a powerful conclusion. Now, let's just pause for a second on step 4, synthesize. This is where so many people get stuck. Synthesis is not, I repeat, not just lining up summaries of your sources one after another. It's about weaving them together. How does source A challenge what source B is saying? How does source C maybe build on both of them? You are creating a brand new tapestry of ideas from existing threads. Knowing what to do is super important, but knowing what not to do, that can be a total shortcut to getting it right. So let's look at some of the common traps that are a dead giveaway that you've kind of missed the point. First, avoid giving only your personal opinions without any evidence to back them up. This isn't a blog post, it's an academic analysis. Second, and we've said it a few times, don't just write a summary. Third, never describe just one source all by itself. A review is always about the conversation between sources. And finally, you gotta stick to the topic. Don't go introducing a bunch of new ideas that aren't grounded in the materials you're actually supposed to be reviewing. Okay, theory is great and all, but let's see how this actually works in practice. How would you apply this toolkit to a real assignment? Let's just walk through a quick example. So here's a classic university-level prompt. See that phrase? Review the literature. That is your cue. Your professor is not asking for a book report on a single article. They want you to survey the entire field of research on this topic, evaluate it, and report back on what the scientific community as a whole knows. And this is where applying the toolkit is so crucial. A great review compares findings from different studies. It doesn't just list them. It evaluates the research methods. Are they reliable? What are their limitations? And it always concludes by summarizing the scientific consensus and, really importantly, pointing out what questions are still unanswered. That shows true understanding. All right, let's bring this all home. The next time you see the word review on an assignment, you can approach it with total confidence, knowing exactly what's expected of you. If you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. A review is your chance to show that you're not just a passive listener in the academic world. It proves you understand the entire conversation that's happening around a topic, who the key players are, what they're arguing about, and where that conversation is probably heading next. So you've got the definition, you've got the toolkit, and you've got the mindset. The real question is, are you ready to put it into practice? To go beyond just summarizing and start engaging with ideas on a completely new level?